a word so powerful but elusive. Love has prompted many poets, authors, and thinkers to explore its deepest dimensions. It is a power that has formed societies, ignited upheavals, and mends injuries that medicine was unable to. Still, one of the most complicated and varied sensations in life is love. Beyond romanticism, love is a complex and varied subject that requires us to go through a few philosophical interpretations. All viewpoints, from the high standards of Platonic love to the unselfish compassion of Agape to the reflective questions of existential love, provide a different prism through which we might see and comprehend this deep feeling. Our goal with this investigation is to understand love and all of its manifestations. Among the first and most deep definitions of love is provided by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato. In his Conversation Symposium, Plato depicts love as a rung of the ladder that leads from the material to the spiritual and ends in reflection on the shape of beauty itself. Though it's a deep and dynamic energy that motivates us to seek the holy, Platonic love is often misinterpreted as a form of sterile, asexual love. Physical attraction starts love at the bottom of the ladder. Not to be discounted, this first stage is what drives us into more advanced kinds of love. As we get higher, we come to see a universal aspect that transcends the individual and instead concentrate on the beauty of all bodies. This stage stands for a more extensive recognition of harmony and physical beauty in our surroundings. Love becomes an appreciation of the soul's beauty as one moves up the ladder. Here, realizing that real beauty is not only skin deep, but we are also attracted to the values and virtues that exist inside people. This stage motivates us to build genuine, deep connections based on respect, admiration, and common ideals that transcend beyond just physical attraction. Penultimately, love becomes attracted to the beauty of knowledge and wisdom. Seeking to engage with people who have similar intellectual and philosophical interests, we start to appreciate the quest of truth and knowledge. This intellectual love encourages us to have discussions, arguments, and idea exchanges that help us to understand the world and our role in it better. Love of the form of beauty itself is, in Plato's philosophy, the ultimate kind of love. This transcending beauty is an ideal, abstract, and unrelated to any specific thing or person. Thinking about this shape gives us a strong feeling of oneness with the divine and a close connection to the timeless truths that support reality. This highest kind of love is an awakening spiritually that leads us to enlightenment and a life of virtue. Platonic love is consequently a voyage from the material to the spiritual, a self-transcendence that takes us from the commonplace to the magnificent. It shows us that real love is looking for the divine essence in everything rather than pursuing ownership or desire. We discover, via this philosophical prism, that love is a potent energy that may take us to new levels of awareness and life. Against the intellectual climb of Platonic love, Agape stands for an all-encompassing, unselfish, and unconditional kind of love. Agape, which has its roots in Christian theology, is the love that God has for people and that people are supposed to have for one another. It is a love that embraces everyone without regard to their imperfections or distinctions, above individual goals and prejudices. Many times, Agape is said to be the ultimate kind of love that gives without anything in return. It is a love that, even at the expense of one's own health, is patient, kind, and forgiving. Teachings of Jesus Christ, who exhorted his followers to love their neighbors as themselves, and to extend that love even to their adversaries, are an example of this unselfish love. Agape pushes us to develop an encompassing and selfless love by transcending our innate propensities toward self-interest. It asks us to see that, irrespective of their deeds or position, every person has intrinsic dignity and value. This kind of love embraces everyone of humanity, including the downtrodden, disenfranchised, and different from us, not only those who are near to us or who share our ideals. Agape is a potent reminder in the setting of contemporary society of the value of social justice, compassion, and empathy. It challenges us to address global injustices and disparities, and to strive for a society that is fairer and more inclusive. Agape exhorts us to sympathize, to to provide understanding and support, and to fight for the rights and dignity of all people. Our personal relationships are greatly impacted by Agape as well, which teaches us to approach others with an open heart and a readiness to forgive and understand. It exhorts us to give second opportunities, let go of resentments and grudges, and establish caring and respectful relationships. Through the promotion of a feeling of community and connection, this kind of love helps to close the divides between us and create a more peaceful and compassionate society. Agape, therefore, is a love that reaches out to the whole human family and beyond oneself. It is a love that exhorts us to be our best selves, to get over our fears and prejudices, and to see the humanity in other people. Agape helps us to understand that real love is about giving rather than receiving, and that in giving, we get the greatest gift of all the happiness of interacting with others and changing the world. Existential love returns us to the human condition and the need for actual connection, whereas Platonic and Agape love provide idealized forms of love that transcend the individual. Originating in the existential philosophy of philosophers such as Søren Kierkegaard, Martin Heidegger, and Jean-Paul Sartre, existential love is about accepting the complexity and paradoxes of human life and finding meaning and purpose in our relationships. A strong, real bond with another person that values and accepts each partner's uniqueness and freedom is the hallmark of existential love. It is a love based on the understanding of our common humanity and the existential need of being responsible and free agents in an unpredictable and often ridiculous world. Existential love is really about sincerity. To love really is to communicate with other people in a sincere, transparent, and true to oneself manner. It entails being open to being judged or rejected, and to disclose one's deepest emotions, ideas, and aspirations. Since both parties to authentic love must be prepared to face and accept the facts of their own and each other's existence, it demands a great degree of trust and dedication. Additionally, stressed by existential love is the value of freedom and choice in partnerships. Existential love understands that love is a decision we take, a commitment we make voluntarily and intentionally, in contrast to deterministic interpretations of love that regard it as a predestined fate or destiny. Since it calls us to face our own limits, anxieties, and insecurities, as well as accept accountability for our deeds and how they affect other people, this decision is not always simple. Within existential philosophy, love is seen as a means of overcoming the loneliness and alienation that often define the human situation. We may discover meaning and purpose in our life and the happiness and pleasure that come from being really seen and understood by developing close and meaningful relationships with other people. Existential love is a means of confirming our humanity and existence, as well as of seeking comfort and company in a world that often seems callous and uncaring. Existential love also pushes us to welcome the complexity and paradoxes in our relationships. It admits that love is not always smooth or flawless, and that it often entails struggle, disagreement, and compromise. To really love is to face and overcome these obstacles, to develop personally, and to encourage and nurture our partners on their own path to self-realization and happiness. Existential love is ultimately about finding purpose and connection within the human predicament. It is a love that tries to create a life of genuineness, purpose, and mutual understanding. It is based on the facts of our lives and accepts our mistakes. Existential love helps us to recognize that genuine love is about finding happiness and satisfaction in life's journey, rather than running away from reality. Poets and authors have encapsulated love throughout history in their writings, providing observations and viewpoints that align with the philosophical approaches we have examined. Poems and literature provide a rich tapestry of emotions that reveal the various aspects of love, from the ageless sonnets of Shakespeare to the impassioned poetry of Pablo Neruda. One of the most famous explorations of love in literature is Shakespeare's Sonnet 116, which begins with the lines, "Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove." In these lines, Shakespeare articulates a vision of love that is steadfast and unchanging, a love that endures through the challenges and changes of life. This sonnet reflects the ideal of Platonic love, where love is not about physical attraction or fleeting emotions, but about a deep and enduring connection that transcends time and circumstance. In contrast, the poetry of Pablo Neruda offers a more passionate and visceral exploration of love. In his poem, Sonnet Roman 17, Neruda writes, "I love you without knowing how, or when, or from where. I love you straightforwardly, without complexities or pride. So I love you because I know no other way." The existential viewpoint that love is a very personal and genuine feeling that transcends logic and reason is reflected in the strong, and sometimes illogical character of Neruda's poetry. His poems honor the unvarnished and unadulterated feelings that define love, as well as the sense of belonging and connection that results from loving someone without conditions or pretense. Literary speaking, Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina provides a deep examination of the intricacies and paradoxes of love. Tolstoy looks at the different kinds of love through the entwined lives of its protagonists, from the tranquil and abiding love of Levin and Kitty to the passionate and catastrophic romance of Anna and Vronsky. The book emphasizes how love can be both uplifting and devastating, as well as the difficulties in establishing genuine, long-lasting relationships in a society too often riven by miscommunication and strife. Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice is an additional literary classic that explores the subject of love. Austen examines how love, pride, and society expectations interact, as well as the path to respect and understanding between Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy. The fundamental notions that love is a decision and a commitment, and that real love is acknowledging and accepting of each other's shortcomings and defects are reflected in the book. Poetic and literary lenses help us to better understand the depth and variety of love, as well as how it molds and defines our lives. Through capturing the beauty and complexity of love in all its manifestations, these works provide a window into the human experience and serve as a reminder of the enormous influence that love can have on our hearts and souls. The Persian mystic and Sufi poet Jalaluddin Rumi, who lived in the 13th century, provides a deep and comprehensive examination of love that goes beyond the commonplace and into the mystical. With their power to unite us with a higher reality and guide us on a path of spiritual enlightenment and self-discovery, Rumi's poetry illuminates the holy and transforming elements of love. Poetry of Rumi frequently obfuscates the distinctions between the heavenly and the human, implying that genuine love is a route to the holy. His compositions, which represent the Sufi idea that earthly love may be a reflection of heavenly love, are full of themes of connection, separation, and desire, inviting us to experience love as a transcending and transforming energy. This mystical viewpoint on love provides a powerful counterbalance to the more logical and intellectual perspectives we have investigated. There is a profound feeling of yearning for the beloved, a metaphor for the divine that exists beyond of this world, throughout Rumi's poems. This need is an expression of the Sufi idea of ishq, a burning love that propels the soul toward communion with God. Rumi believed that love was a deep spiritual energy that drove us to seek the ultimate truth and beauty, not just an emotional or bodily bond. In one of his most famous poems, Rumi writes, "The minute I heard my first love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was. Lovers don't finally meet somewhere. They're in each other all along." Rumi's spiritual attitude to love is encapsulated in this poem. It implies that the road of self-discovery, that is the quest for love, is already inside of us. Lovers are in each other all along is a reflection of the Sufi view that all things contain the divine, and that love is the way we may identify and communicate with this presence. We have spoken existentially, and Rumi's idea of love as an inward journey makes sense. It underlines the need of being genuine and self-aware in relationships, as well as the notion that real love is about getting to know the innermost parts of both ourselves and other people. This inner trip is a route of spiritual development and enlightenment that takes us closer to a better knowledge of who we really are and where we fit in the cosmos. Additionally, emphasizing the transforming potential of love, Rumi's poetry implies that love has the ability to elevate and alter us. From his perspective, love is a driving force behind spiritual development and enlightenment, a way for us to go beyond our little selves and make contact with God. The poetry that follows catches this transforming quality of love. Through love, all that is bitter will sweet. Through love, all that is copper will be gold. Through love, all dregs will become wine. Through love, all pain will turn to medicine. Here, Rumi talks about the elevating and transforming alchemical power of love. Rumi thought that love could transform our experiences and perceptions, transforming suffering into healing, base metals into gold, and bitterness into honey. The Sufi view that love is a heavenly energy that may elevate and cleanse the soul and guide us to a higher state of being is reflected in this transforming power of love. Love as a force for transformation, as envisioned by Rumi, is in line with Platonic notions of love as a path to the divine. Both points of view stress that love is a strong energy that may guide us toward spiritual development and enlightenment, rather than only a human feeling. We may go beyond who we are to connect with the greater realities and truths that exist beyond of the material world via love. Many times, Rumi uses dance and movement images to convey the feeling of love in his poems. The dance metaphor captures both the pleasure and ecstasy that may accompany love and its dynamic and always shifting character. Within one of his poems, Rumi writes, "Dance when you're broken open. Dance if you've torn the bandage off. Dance in the middle of the fighting. Dance in your blood. Dance when you're perfectly free." Rumi's perspective of love is euphoric and joyous, and this poem catches that. It implies that to love is to welcome life with freedom and enthusiasm, and that love is a joyful and releasing power that can transcend misery and anguish. The dance's metaphor is drawn from the Sufi Sema, a kind of contemplative dance that represents the soul's path to heavenly unity. The dance's visuals also speak to the philosophical notion that love is a decision and a dedication. Love demands us to give life and other people our whole attention, to welcome the pleasures and difficulties of relationships, and to discover purpose and satisfaction in the process, just as dancing demands movement and involvement. We may encounter life in its wholeness and establish a connection with the deeper realities that lie under the surface by dancing with love. Rumi's poetry is centered on the notion that love leads to oneness and harmony. Beyond the confines of the individual, Rumi's concept of love unites us with the holy and all of creation. Within one of his most well-known poems, Rumi writes, "The moment I heard my first love story, I began seeking you, not realizing. The search was my separation. Lovers don't meet somewhere. They're in one another, always." This poetry explores the concept that love may help one overcome separation and discover oneness. The ultimate goal of the pursuit for love is connection, that is, to go beyond oneself and discover oneness with God and other people. Rumi's picture of love as a route to oneness is consistent with a Sufi doctrine that holds that all things are interrelated, and that love is the way we come to see and accept this interconnectedness. Poetry by Rumi also highlights how love is a power that may draw us nearer to God. In an additional poem, Rumi writes, "I am a lover of love itself, seeking to join with the source of all love and beauty. I have seen the face of the beloved in every being, and I have found the light of God in the eyes of every lover." The ethereal spirit of Rumi's view of love as a route to the holy is encapsulated in these poetry. It implies that love is a heavenly power that links us to the source of all love and beauty, rather than just a human feeling. We may see the divine in all things and the light of God in the eyes of every lover because of love. As we have seen, romanticism is not the only nuanced and multidimensional feeling of love. From the Platonic love's intellectual rise to the Agape's unselfish compassion, and the existential love's search for real connection. Every viewpoint provides a unique and insightful understanding of what love is. Platonic love instructs us to look for the divine essence in all things, to value the harmony and beauty of the universe, and to aspire to a life of virtue and enlightenment. Agape exhorts us to embrace a kind of selfless, inclusive, and caring love, to reach out to others with compassion and empathy, and to strive for a society that is more fair and just. We are reminded by existential love of the value of freedom, choice, and honesty in our relationships, as well as the ability of love to give our life direction and meaning. Poetry and books help us to see the numerous aspects of love and how it influences and enhances our human experience. Love motivates us to be our best selves, unites us to the world and to one another, and cuts across time and place. Love is ultimately a way of being in the world, connecting to others, and finding purpose and satisfaction in our lives, not only an emotion or sensation. It is a road of self-discovery and connection that takes us to a more profound comprehension of both the outside world and ourselves. We discover throughout this investigation of the philosophy of love that love is about the deep and transforming power of relating to people and the divine, not just about romance or desire. It is an adventure that pushes us to develop and change, that takes us beyond ourselves, and that gets us closer to the essence of who we are and what it is to be human. We also discover the actual meaning of love on this trip, a power that cuts over all barriers and brings us together in the common experience of life.